welcome to the HSE Edge. Today I'm with Dan. Dan, thanks for being with us on the show, and thanks for, having the time to discuss. I think one important topic, which is the ROI of investing in safety and safety technologies, safety solutions, etc. Which I don't think it's taking a lot of space in the when we discuss with multiple HSC managers. So I think it's a very relevant topic that we're going to discuss today. And the why we're doing this, because the other day you wrote a very intriguing article on LinkedIn that I really liked, and that's why we had a chat, and then now we are doing this episode. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's nice to chat with you.
Yeah. So to get started, if you could tell us a little bit about your experience, how you ended up in EHS, and what drew you to focus on ROI, for example.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I started. I mean, it's hard to believe, but I've been in industry for just about 30 years now. I'm not sure when that all happened, but anyway, yeah. So I started actually in manufacturing, manufacturing plant, and I started in quality control. Worked for as a shop floor supervisor for 6 years. After that, worked in the lab, did a bunch of different jobs, and then towards the end of my time there, the health and safety person that was at the plant retired, and so they asked me if I would do it. So I wasn't sure at first, but I gave it a little bit of time to think, and I thought, this could be good. Um, so yeah, for the last 3.5 years, I worked at the plant in health and safety. Did lots of like seminars and sort of one-off education type things. Um, and then the plant closed in 2016. So I had a little bit of time to go back. So I went back to university. Got a little more formal education in terms of health and safety. Started looking for jobs, and so now I'm in the warehousing and transportation industry. The manager for we have a nationwide company, so across Canada, 400 employees, about 12 different branches. So yeah, so I've done that, and then just over the last little while, I've been writing about it on LinkedIn and my newsletter, and trying to get across some of the messages that I think are important for health and safety people.
Definitely. And yeah, so a lot of leaders see safety as an expense. So it's like training, PPE, audits, basically pure costs for that. So from your experience, why do long-term benefits often fly under the radar, whenever we talk about safety?
Right. Yeah. So I think the thing is, the costs are really visible and the benefits are kind of invisible sometimes. So the cost, if we have to spend X number of thousands of dollars on machine guarding, let's say, or on PPE or things like that, that's pretty obvious. The invoices are right there staring us in the face, kind of thing, right? But the benefits are invisible, and there's one story that I heard. I went to the Steelworkers Health and Safety Conference in Pittsburgh back in 2015, and one of the presenters made the case that um, when you almost in safety, you only know when you fail type of thing. So let's say for an example, there's a machine that's not properly guarded. Someone goes close to it. Their hand maybe touches the machine and gets drawn in, and they've got an injury now, and they've gone to the hospital. So that is very obvious, right? When you see that. But supposing if we rewind that story a little bit, the health and safety person had gone down there, say the day before, looked at the machine, said, "We need a guard on this." They placed the guard on it. The next day, the person comes along, does exactly the same thing, puts their hand in exactly the same spot, but because there's a guard there, there's no injury, right? And there's no bells and whistles, there's no horn that goes off that says you just prevented an incident, right? It's person just carries on with their day. Nothing happens. They carry on, they go home to their families, and everybody's happy at the end of the day. So the benefits of spending money on safety are not necessarily always going to be visible, and certainly not as visible as the cost and the invoice that's sitting there staring in front of you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that I've seen across different conversations. Like whenever I ask someone in EHS, what is the cost of I would say an incident or accident, it is very difficult to quantify because you have parts that are, I mean, your direct costs. I mean, you could you could quantify, and some companies do quantify those, some don't, because I mean, they're not looking at them. But the other thing is like, you have indirect costs. I mean, loss of productivity. You have to train somebody else to do the job. Like loss of morale, etc. Like a lot of things pile up, but you don't see them, and it's very hard to quantify. So I think that's what makes it a difficult task to like kind of put a cost on it. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things, obviously we look at the direct cost of things like, the cost of injury, cost of repair, for instance, if there's equipment damage, things like that, maybe transportation costs, the hospital, medical expenses, things like that are pretty obvious.
yeah,
And most people can see those. The things you don't see is, the loss of productivity. Maybe you have to bring someone from a different department to fill in for that person, right? And maybe that person, when they come, they're not as efficient. Maybe they don't know the job as well. Maybe they need to be trained previously. Maybe the quality of their work isn't as good. Maybe even have a defect that then ends up going out to a customer or something like that. Maybe they're even a bottleneck for a different process as well, right? So there can be a lot of productivity lost as a result of an injury. So that's pretty significant. Um, you know, Workers' compensation premiums will go up. The more lost time accidents you have, the more recordable incidents as well.
yeah,
You see pretty significant costs with that. That's a really big cost for businesses in a lot of areas. You mentioned morale, retention. Employee retention is huge, right?
yeah,
Um, I've heard people, at other companies talk about, their companies and things like that, and say people are getting injured all the time. It's I don't want to work here. You don't feel motivated, all that kind of stuff. So those things are all very big. One of the biggest things that I think goes unrecognized in terms of lost opportunities and lost costs is I'm seeing a lot now with a lot of contractor management companies like ISN, Avetta. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those, contractor compliance. There's a bunch of them. But increasingly, when businesses are looking for other businesses to partner with or looking for contractors from other businesses, they want to work with someone who's safe and who's got a safe record, right? So I deal with this a lot in my job where, you have to go and if a customer wants to work with you, we have to provide our, safety statistics maybe over the last 3 years. We have to explain any serious things if there have been. And they want to know what our reportable incident rate is and all that sort of thing, right? And
yeah.
if those rates are too high, that customer may not want to work with you, right? So there's a real loss, a potential loss of business and a cost associated with that. That to me seems to be getting bigger and bigger as time goes by. It's really increasing.
Yeah, I feel like the last point you mentioned, like kind of you as a company losing business because your safety is not good. I've seen a couple that like some RFPs like are in oil and gas, like they will basically disqualify companies who have a bad records of safety because they don't want to associate with them because they so there are two things. Either because they're a public company, they do have to report their like ESG metrics, and safety is one of them, and you don't want to be associated with a subcontractor that has bad safety. Could impact your operations, and it could, I mean, basically dra- impact your ESG metrics, or because like these subcontractors will affect your end product or end like services. You don't want to get involved with them as well. So you as a company, like if you don't like track these metrics properly, you could lose business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, fortunately, our companies has done really well over the last little while. We've really brought our incident rate down, from going back over the last decade, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So we've done really well, but there's certainly a lot of possibilities, for companies out there to lose business, yeah, if their safety record isn't good.
yeah. And like one thing you mentioned, like I think in Canada, there is $20 billion of like direct and indirect costs related to workplace injuries each year. So, like, have you seen like some of these and like of your previous experiences, like how these costs will pile up and yeah,
Yeah, so it certainly can pile up. Yeah, the statistics that I found, from the government are they're saying $20 billion per year Canadian businesses have lost in direct costs, and then the indirect costs are about half that as well on top of that, right? So you're looking at, roughly between direct and indirect costs, almost $100 million per day for businesses across Canada, right? So that's a huge opportunity for businesses to improve, right?
Yeah,
To get a piece of that. If you can, reduce your incident rate, there's a lot of money to be saved there.
definitely. Yeah.
So that's really important. I'm not sure. Sorry, can you? What was the? I just kind of missed that last question.
Uh, so like, yeah, in your like previous experiences, like, have you seen like an incident or an accident, like, I know that costs too much, like, it's like, yeah, it is too.
Yeah, yeah. So there's potentially like in a previous, one of my previous workplaces, it's a very significant. I don't know if I want to give it the dollar number, but very, very significant in terms of fines from Ministry of Labor for a significant injury. There's also things like there was a cost associated, so there was some things that needed to be done, some improvements that needed to be made. So those costs to make the situation to improve the situation, and then there's also like production costs that came from that as well. So just, that one particular cost was like over $100,000. So it can be very expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen like, for example, in the US, I've seen couple companies getting like 150,000, like 200,000 fine for. I would say they're not there are repeat offenses, but there are like, someone not wearing their PPE properly, but it's a repeat offense. So like
Yeah.
cost like
Yeah.
increase like drastically, and yeah, I mean it starts small, I would say, but then like it's say they catch you again with a repeat offense with the same type. Yeah, it's gonna pile up. So
Yeah. I think the maximum corporate fine in Canada now is like $2 million.
wow.
So that's a huge fine. And safety, officers of the company can also be fined personally. Workers, supervisors can all be these are extreme cases, of course. It's not, not for a one-off minor injury or anything like that. In extreme cases, the costs can be really substantial.
Yeah. And have you seen like maybe like some proactive safety steps that saved like a lot of I mean in terms of costs, direct or indirect. So and can you share with us some examples that you've seen?
Yeah. So I think, some of the there was a study done by the Institute for Work and Health in Ontario, which is a really great institution that does a lot of not-for-profit investigation of safety issues. They have a lot of really good, constructed studies. Um, and I would certainly recommend. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I would certainly recommend them, the Institute for Work and Health. So they did a study in 2022 in Ontario that looked at the financial return for safety initiatives in workplaces. And they looked at three different areas. So they looked at manufacturing, transportation and warehousing, and construction. And what they found was the average return in manufacturing was 24% for safety. So every dollar spent on health and safety initiatives in that sector returned a dollar 24 in savings. Transportation was even more, it was 114%. So you're more than doubling your money um, in that sector. And then construction, it was 34%. So even that, you're looking at 34%. Like if I could put money in my investments and get 34%, I'd be very happy. Right? For yeah. And there's been some European studies as well that have indicated the same sort of thing, right? They've got numbers like 1.5 to 2 times ROI.
Yeah, in the US, I've seen couple studies similar, conducted by some also like some good institutions, around like for every dollar you spend on like EHS initiatives, you'll get $2 back. So it's like almost like, yeah, more you 100% like return. So so which is great. I mean, return on investment, and like it will have, I guess, trickle down effects as well, because I mean, you're fixing issues related to safety, but it's going to trickle down to the productivity, to production quality, etc. Because as one of our guests previously said, like having good safety is like having good business.
Yeah, and that's a really good point too. And a lot of, maybe I'm getting a little bit off topic, but a lot of companies that have really good safety programs also have really good quality programs. And it's because it kind of comes from the same thing. Being able to have a good quality program, you have to have policies and procedures in place. They have to be well communicated, and most importantly, they have to be followed consistently, right? And those same things are important in health and safety as well, right? You have the right procedures, you gotta communicate them properly, and you gotta follow them every time, right? So that's kind of another, like, offshoot of safety is you're improving not just your safety, but your entire business process.
Mhm. So, quick question. So, what like when you sit down with like a manager or an executive, so how do you like shift the questions from like how much will this cost us to like what will we lose if we don't do it?
Yeah, what's the cost of not doing this? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, as safety people, I mean, I understand, and every manager understands, businesses are there to make money. That's the purpose of being there, right? And you have to be able to control costs to run a business. There's no question about that, right? So you have to kind of look at it like, as safety people, we're not here to throw up roadblocks. We're not here to just spend money for no reason. We're not here to throw money away. But what we're trying to do is keep the business running.
Yeah.
We want to prevent something like, God forbid, a serious injury that's gonna, where we're gonna have the ministry come in and shut you down for a period of time. We want to keep, productivity rolling. Like I said, if someone gets injured, they're off the line, and then you got to bring in somebody else. You got to pay somebody else. Maybe you got to hire a temp. All these kinds of things, and it affects your efficiency as well, right? So we're not here as safety professionals to cost the company money. We're here to try and save the company money and keep them running as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And so like how and for example, let's say you're starting a new initiative, and how do you get like people from like core like management level, but also like people from the front line to like buy in like in these new initiatives and because if you don't have buy in, your initiatives like I don't know won't like do anything good. So how do you get that buy in to make sure it's implemented and it's returning the ROI that we're looking for?
Yeah. So there's a statement I love, that says people support what they help to create. Right? So, one of the most important things I think for getting people on board for safety initiatives is to give them a voice and to talk to them, workers and managers as well. Get them on board, get them to understand that this is for them. This is for the workers. This is to keep you guys safe. Getting employees on board is the biggest part. And a lot of times, we get new, or sorry, some of our best employees, and maybe they want to rush through things and things like that and get the production out, and managers love them for that and all that kind of stuff. But for those employees, I think, if you give them some kind of responsibility for health and safety, let them do a toolbox talk. Let them be responsible for doing the workplace inspection 1 month or something like that. That gets them to me opens their eyes maybe, and just, gets them to see, what is out there in terms of health and safety and what the potential risks are in the business. Uh, and I think that can open a lot of eyes. And for managers, same thing as well. A lot of times when you're talking to managers, it's either you want to talk about costs, so you're talking about cost savings, or you're talking about reputation, or you're talking about improving efficiency. So those are kind of the three things you really want to talk to managers about. Speak to them in a language that they would resonate with, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, otherwise it would be like the message won't go through.
Exactly.
And so yeah, for like our listeners eager to like start, let's say, seeing safety as more strategic asset than a cost, what would be a simple action they can take I mean, shift the narrative towards that?
Yeah. So first of all is to review the hazards in your workplace. So I would go through your workplace step by step. Look for hazards in the work, look for things that can go wrong. It'd be ideal to have someone who's got some background in health and safety to do this. And just look at every single job and look at the hazards that you have. you're going to probably, chances are, if this is the first time you've done this, you're not going to be able to do everything all at once, to fix everything all at once, right? But look at what the most critical items are first, and tackle the first thing, and then you can gradually work your way down to the least important. Um, One thing that I do, and I've always done, is keep really detailed records of incidents and near misses. I have a spreadsheet with every incident that's happened since 2016 in my business. With date, the employee, the location, the branch location, what's happened, how it's classified, whether it was a lost time incident, first aid, medical, something like that, and then the root cause of the incident as well. So once you've built up a bit of a database on that, then you can go through, you can do some data mining, and you can look at, where are we having what departments are we having the most injuries, or what types of injuries are we having the most? Are we having, muscular, like repetitive strain type injuries? Are we having, forklift injuries? Are we having cuts? Are we having, struck by object? Those kinds of things. So that can be really useful. And then the other thing is talking about employees, or talking to employees about it. There's, nobody knows the hazards and risks on a particular job than the person who does the job all day, every day for 8 hours, week after week, month after month, year after year, right? So getting your top employees involved can be a really good clue to what the hazards are as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, without them, like, yeah, like getting involved and like giving you feedback, you wouldn't, know like something happened usually. And I mean, a lot of EHS managers tell me like, yeah, if people don't report like, I mean, incidents, like near misses, etc. Like we won't like know about them until maybe later, or if it's like too big of an event, then yeah, sure, everybody will know about it. But the small things, if workers are not like I mean, aware about this risks and like don't talk about them, then like like all these systems of like collecting data, etc., won't work. So definitely workers need to be involved in this. Yeah, empowered to report and like say something when they see something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, any like final thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, I think I would say, like, the return on investment sometimes is not always obvious. As I say, there's no, when we prevent injuries, there's no bells and whistles that go off. It's not an obvious thing. But the benefits are real, right? And certainly the cost to the opposite, the cost to having injuries and things like that is huge. So any amount that you can save, any injuries that you can save, and we've talked a lot about the financial cost, but obviously there's a lot of personal cost to someone. One of the things that I saw that really got me involved, and it got me to really commit to health and safety, was, a friend of mine that had a significant accident, life changing injury, and I saw, what he went through with 18 months of physiotherapy, and having to get a prosthesis, and all kinds of, really serious thing, how it affected him psychologically and things like that. So these are really important things, and you might not think of it on a day to day basis. But if you can prevent, even one person from going through that kind of an injury, then you've done something good, and it's hard to even put a price on that.
Exactly. Well, it's yeah, it is very like they could be very life like altering. Like whenever they happen, these like type of events, and similar thing like I mean, I come from a mechanical engineering background. Why like I don't know started this like safety like AI company because one of my friends also like suffered a similar accident, like, and yeah, it's like had a great toll on him personally. So yeah, like even like saving one person like from and like enduring that is like phenomenal. So so thanks a lot, Dan, for being with us and sharing your insights and stories. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.